This is the elevated hip flexor stretch. I've actually set myself up on a bit of an angle to the step. Then I'm coming across, and now I'm bringing my hips and my shoulders so that they're square to the step. And I feel a stretch in the leg that's down. I'll show you it from this side. So I'm coming in from an angle at the step, put my foot straight on the step, bring my hips and shoulders around to be square. And I'm feeling a stretch either here or into your thigh. Staying nice and tall in your torso. If you want more stretch, squeeze your glutes together as opposed to leaning back and extending your back. This is what I call the three-way hamstring. I'll go this way so you can see a little better. But this leg is going to stay straight. My toes are pointed at the ceiling. I have just a belt around my foot, and I'm bringing it up, making sure my knee stays perfectly straight. Come up just till I feel a stretch in the back of my thigh, and I'll hold that for the required amount of time. Then I'm going to bring this foot across, really just so that my toe is even with my shoulder, and I'll hold that for the required amount of time. And then, so again, keeping my hips level on the ground. Some people get way out here, but they lift their bum cheeks off the floor. And then you're going to come out to the side. So again, same deal. You're just coming out till you feel a stretch here. You're not letting your hips roll to get you further out there. And again, it's just a stretch. You should just feel a stretch in different portions of your hamstring. So here you'll feel it more evenly in the back. When you come across, you'll feel it a little bit to the outside of your hamstrings. And when you go this way, you'll feel it a little more. When you do the pretzel stretch, you're going to start with just a typical glute stretch pattern. But then you're going to reach up with this hand and grab this foot. And you're going to reach underneath with your other hand and grab your other foot. And then I'm using the hip flexors on this side to actually pull this knee up, which is going to give me more stretch on my left glute. So I'm using the muscles in the front of this hip to help me stretch the muscles in the back of the opposite hip. This is a side clamshell. So arrange yourself so that your feet are in line with your rear end and your back. Your hips are rolled slightly forward, your knees are touching, your feet are touching, and then you're just going to lift up that top knee. Feeling it out here, so think about squeezing there. Make sure when you lift that top knee, you're not rolling your hips backwards. You want to stay nice and stable. If you have trouble and you're not sure if you have the right position, or maybe you're not feeling in the right spot, you can always lie with your feet, your rear end, your back, right along a wall with your knees bent to about 90 degrees, and that will help ensure that you're in the right position. Let me just show you from the front what that'll look like. Side clamshell. The prone plank is a great exercise that pretty much everyone is familiar with, but some people do a really poor job of executing it properly. It's kind of like the stairway to heaven of exercises. Everybody knows how to play the first few bars, but very few people can play it really, really well. So from your elbows, again, making a straight line. So this is not right. This is not right. It's got to be a straight line. You're actively contracting your quadriceps, squeezing your glutes, bracing with your abdominals, locking in your shoulders. It's an active exercise. It's a great exercise. It's worth doing properly. Side plank is another great exercise. It gets done improperly a lot, and a lot of times it's just because people don't quite have the strength to do it from their feet yet. So let's take it back, bring it to your knees. When you do from your knees, the starting position will be with your hips sitting back slightly, and then when you come up into the plank, you'll bring them forward to make that nice straight line. We don't want you just dropping down because it's a lot of lateral flexion in the spine. So you'll hold here, and then when it's time, you'll sit back in your hips like that. So make sure you're nice and straight. I think the common compensation pattern I see is usually people bringing their shoulders forward. So just keep this shoulder back, Make sure you're in a nice straight line, not piked at the hips when you're up in that side plank position. You do the dumbbell split squat. You'll really at the bottom, I want you to be in about a 90-90 position. So the front knee is bent at 90, the back knee is bent at 90, that back thigh is pointing straight down at the floor, and that's really your position. So you might even want to start down there. We're going to come down until your knee is just 1 or 2 inches off the floor, and then back up. And really I'm thinking of pushing this front foot into the floor to lift me up and down. I want to make sure I'm getting the glutes on that side and that I'm keeping my chest up. I don't want you falling forward here into that split squat position. The knee is staying roughly over the ankle, and from the front you're making sure that the knee is pointing straight ahead, not falling in like that or even just slightly in. You want to keep it right in line with the middle toe, or the second toe actually, of your foot. This may seem like a fairly easy exercise, and I guess technically, or maybe in terms of how strenuous it is fairly easy, but technically I want to make sure we're getting it just right. So it's a double leg glute bridge. We're going to start off by bracing our abdominals so that our torso is kind of locked in. I want my hips and my rib cage to move at the same rate. So, and then I'm just going to push my feet into the floor and lift to make a straight line from my knees to my hips to my shoulders. And I'm squeezing my glutes, I'm squeezing my bum cheeks the whole time I'm holding this exercise. So I'm thinking about, my old ski coaches used to say, imagine you're trying to crack a walnut between your bum cheeks. So I'm kind of thinking that idea. My hamstrings will be turned on a little bit too because they're helpers, but I really want to emphasize feeling this in my glutes. And then you'll come straight down again. So it's not a roll up, roll down. It's just a hinge at the hips, squeezing the glutes, holding for the required amount of time, back down to tap down.